All right, everybody. Well, you may recall that in a recent pickup from one of my electrician clients, this cable presented itself, and this is a very interesting cable because we have the cores and then we have this jacket around it that has Bear Bright as well. So we need to figure out how we're going to scrap this. I'm pretty sure it's worth some time invested in breaking it down to Bear Bright. I think. I don't know. But we're going to do it right now just because it's interesting and we've never done it before. So I think the first thing is I need to cut some test pieces. So I've got my portable grinder here with a cutoff wheel on it. We're just going to cut off, 1 foot sections or so here to just sort of play around with a little bit, kind of get a feel for it. Interesting. Very interesting. So that really shows you the copper that's in there. So the first test is going to be just to take a straight edge and cut down the length of it. Just cut down the length of it here and see what happens. So we're at the operating table, normally reserved for PCs. A little bit tough, but not too bad. And that outer sheathing peels off easily. That's just like a plasticky kind of sheathing. And that exposes copper wire. In this case, it's very corroded. It was at the end of the cable. And then some very nice, this is the 2 core cables, which should go through without any trouble at all. And then this is sort of a fabric laced, I don't know if that's fabric or if that's rubber with metal of some sort. If it's metal, it's not ferrous. It looks like it's just fabric though. So I'm going to throw that in the trash. And then we have some, in this case, highly corroded copper. So I'm going to put that in with my number 2, my copper number 2. All right, and then we're going to see how easily this goes through the Stripmeister. I don't anticipate any trouble at all with the Stripmeister handling this. Let's go find out. And let's see, you are too big for that hole, I think. I don't know, let's find out. Wait a minute. Oh no, you fit in that hole. All right, so now we just set it so that it is a little bit down. Yeah. And we open that way up, bringing the cable in, get it to touch. Take it down a little bit more. Let's see what that looks like. Power, slow speed. We can come down a little bit more. I'm going to go a whole notch. That, I think, went through the rubber, but not the copper. Let's see. If we do both sides, yeah, it splits right away, so that's good. That's a good setting. Copper, the sheathing comes right off. The copper is also encased in a light plastic cover as well as this rubber cover. And that, even though this part is a little bit discolored, I can throw that in with my Bear Bright. I'm not worried. That should be just fine. Look at that. I love it when I do the double cut like that. Just opens it right up. I don't have to struggle with it at all. Very nice. All right, now. All right, so the cable is fairly rigid. So I think what I'm going to do is cut it into manageable chunks. So I'm going to take this over to the vise to make it a little easier to hold on to while I'm cutting. So for those of you that were wondering, I did try to cut it with my cable shears, but it's just too big for my cable shears. They couldn't get a bite on it. Now this is an older disc that I have on here, so it's kind of worn down a little bit. I'll need to change it at some point. This cable was also on the exterior of a building, so it's got a lot of paint buildup on it as well. Well, we are not getting Bear Bright for this outer layer of copper. It is definitely going to be number 2. It's very heavily corroded, so number 2 copper. But the inner cores are definitely Bear Bright. So I have got to do the math. I'm going to get Geek Shark involved. We're going to do a test run because now I'm asking myself if it's really worth my time to strip this wire, because we're losing value as we take off the insulation and degrading it from number 1 insulated copper wire to number 2 plus Bear Bright. All right, Geek Shark, let's do some math. All right, so we're starting out the first test. So there's 25 pounds of number 1 insulated copper wire. Now not exactly an accurate test because we will not have accounted for the time cutting into manageable lengths, but this should be very revealing in its own right. So 25 pounds, number 1 insulated copper wire. All right, so let's start splitting cable. All right, so stage 2 took us 7 minutes, 28 seconds. All right, 7:30. Good enough. 7 minutes 30. We're going to call it 7 minutes 30. So at the end of stage 2, we get 9 minus 3, 6 pounds of number 2 copper and 15 pounds of number 1 insulated copper wire. All right, now I haven't changed this settings on this, so we should be good to go here. Do a test piece, make sure our settings are still good. By the way, this is a recommended procedure from Stripmeister for larger cable, is to run it through twice, rotating it in between so that you get that split. All right, we know we're set right. Let's get the timer over here. All right, and we're off and running. Technically, I guess I should have included the timing for that. Ah, well. Rotate it 180 degrees, run it through again, the cable splits real nice, and you get your Bear Bright. Speed things up a little bit. All right, so that was 4 minutes and 5 seconds. All right, so 4 minutes, 5 seconds got us Bear Bright, 14 pounds. So we still have the number 2 copper wire at 6 pounds, or the number 2 copper at 6 pounds, and then we have Bear Bright at 14 pounds, and that took 4 minutes 5 seconds. So our total wastage from the beginning to the end was 5 pounds. Because we started out with 25 pounds, we ended up with 20. So we lost 5 pounds of weight, which if they had bought it as number 1 insulated copper wire in its original form, we would have gotten paid for, and now we're not. So let's see. We'll let Geek Shark do some math on this, and we'll see how we come out. This should be very interesting. I'm looking forward to this. Now entering the field, ladies and gentlemen, is Geek Shark. Alrighty, well, thank you, dirty, sweaty, ugly shark. Go clean up or something. You made a mess there. All right, folks. Well, it looks like this is going to be really interesting. Now, option 1 was if we just sold that 25 pounds of wire as insulated copper wire number 1. So we would have had 25 pounds at $2.40 for $60. Option 2 was where we stripped it, cut the outer casing off, ended up with 15 pounds of insulated copper wire number 1 and 6 pounds of copper number 2. So that insulated copper 1 now at 15 pounds at $2.40 gives us $36. And 6 pounds of copper number 2 at $3 a pound gives us 18. That gives us a grand total of $54. So we actually lost money doing that. However, we're not quite done yet because what we're trying to get to is bare bright. So that takes us into option 3. Option 3 is when we strip those cores that used to be number 1 insulated copper wire to get bare bright. We end up with 14 pounds of bare bright at $3.20 a pound for $44.80. And we still have the 6 pounds of number 2 copper at $3. So that's $18 for a grand total of $62.80. So that's a gain of $2.80 from just selling it as straight number 1 insulated copper wire. Now you'll recall we spent a total of, let's call it 11 and a half minutes. Sometimes Dirty Shark, just his timing is terrible. Anyway, we're going to call it 11 and a half minutes, so that's 0.2 hours of total time cutting it and stripping it down. So that means that we were making $14.61 an hour. Now, again, not a perfect ROI kind of calculation because Dirty Sweaty Shark, he kind of goobered it up. He didn't account for the time he spent cutting it into manageable chunks. And then there was that one piece that he did a test strip on, and he should have included that in the time. So, you know, not exactly real accurate, but I think accurate enough for us to realize that breaking it all the way down is only getting us, what, $14 an hour, $14 to $15 an hour. You know, that's not terrible. It's kind of minimum wage in a lot of places. Now, if Bear Bright goes up, well, if Bear Bright goes up, then the insulated number 1 is going to go up proportionally, so we're really not gaining anything. It's a little bit difficult to justify cutting and stripping this very interesting cable down to Bear Bright at $14 to $15 an hour. It's not impossible to justify it. That copper that hanging onto the Bear Bright takes up less space, so it's easier to stockpile it in that form than it is in the actual cable form. Plus, I may use that copper for some melt projects that I want to try my hand at later on. The other thing is that if I get this copper in the future and the outer jacket isn't quite as corroded, then we would get more Bear Bright. So for instance, in this example, that's $6 6 pounds of number 2 copper. If that had been Bear Bright, we would have had a total of 20 pounds of Bear Bright for $64. So we would have made $20 an hour, you know, going through this work. So that's not too bad, right? You know, that's meaningful. So I think that my plan is going to be, as I go forward with more of this cable, to go ahead and break it down. It's just going to be an easier way to hang on to the copper for stockpiling, which is one of the things that I want to do here because I do firmly believe that copper prices are going to continue to rise. Now, we talk about the rising prices for copper in Shark Scrapper Live every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so feel free to join us for that discussion where we look at precious metals, we look at industrial metals, and we look at the stocks of companies that are in the orbit of our scrapping and recycling business. All right, everybody, have a great day. The links that are popping up are going to take you to more very interesting return on investment kind of videos and other Shark Scrapper videos that you are going to love. Have a great day.